Title: Why You Feel Separate and How Your Brain is Tricking You. There's a voice in your head. Right now. It's been there your whole life, and you probably call it me. It's the voice that says, "I'm tired. I love this song," or "I really hope they like me." We take this inner narrator so for granted that it feels like the very center of our being. It's that undeniable feeling of being a pilot, sitting in the control room of the skull, looking out at the world through a pair of eyes. But what if that voice isn't the real you? What if it's less like a pilot and more like a radio station your brain just leaves on? A 24/7 broadcast all about you, for you. And what if you could change the channel? This isn't philosophy, this is neurology. And understanding this one mechanism can fundamentally change your relationship with your thoughts, your anxiety, and who you think you are. The premise, the grand illusion. That constant nagging feeling of being a solid, separate self is one of the most convincing illusions your brain has ever cooked up. It's a trick, a clever and incredibly useful one, but a trick nonetheless. For centuries, spiritual traditions have talked about no self or dissolving the ego. Now, neuroscience is finally catching up, and for the first time, we can point to the exact brain network responsible for generating the story of you. It's called the default mode network, or DMN, and it isn't some abstract concept. It's a real, measurable web of brain regions that fires up to create your personal identity. It's your brain's ghostwriter. We're about to pull back the curtain on this neural magician. We'll uncover how this network creates the feeling of being separate from the world, and more importantly, reveal the neurological switch that lets you quiet it down, offering a profound sense of freedom and presence. The science, meet the storyteller. So, what exactly is the default mode network? Think of it as your brain's screensaver. When you aren't focused on a specific task in the outside world, like when you're driving a route you know by heart, waiting for the coffee to brew, or lying in bed, this network automatically kicks in. It's the brain's default setting. The DMN connects several key parts of the brain, most importantly, the medial prefrontal cortex and the posterior cingulate cortex. The job of this network is to be the tireless biographer of you. It's constantly weaving together your past, present, and future into a single, coherent story. Replaying an embarrassing moment from last week? That's the DMN, anxiously rehearsing a conversation you have to have tomorrow? DMN again. Just daydreaming about where your life is headed? That's the DMN at peak performance. This network is what gives you a stable sense of identity. It's the glue holding the memory of you as a kid and the projection of you as an older person together, creating a seamless narrative. But in doing so, it creates a powerful side effect: the feeling of being an isolated subject at the center of everything. The DMN's main job is to think about the self, which, by definition, strengthens the boundary between you and everything else. It creates the main character in the movie of your life. The problem is, it makes you forget you're also the screen, the projector, and the entire theater. The evidence? Watching the illusion in real time. How do we know the DMN is the lead actor in this production of me? Scientists can literally watch it in action. Put someone in an fMRI scanner, which tracks blood flow in the brain, and the DMN lights up like a Christmas tree the moment their mind starts to wander. But ask them to focus on a tough puzzle, and the DMN goes quiet. The second their focus slips and their mind drifts back to their own worries, it roars back to life. It seems the self is what the brain does when it's not busy doing something else. The evidence gets even more compelling when we look at states where that sense of self dissolves. Studies on long-term meditators, for instance, show they can voluntarily turn down the volume on their DMN. During deep meditation, the parts of the brain tied to self-referential thought and the boundary between me and the world become significantly quieter. This lines up perfectly with the subjective experience of oneness that meditators have described for millennia. Perhaps the most dramatic proof comes from research on psychedelics like psilocybin. Scientists have found that the experience of ego dissolution, a state where the sense of being a separate individual completely vanishes, correlates directly with a dramatic drop in DMN activity. It's like the brain's storyteller is temporarily taken offline. The endless narration of I, me, mine just stops. What's left is a state of pure awareness, unbound by the story of a separate self. This shows that the ego isn't some fixed thing. It's a process, a pattern of brain activity that can be turned down or even, for a moment, switched off. The bodily anchor. How the trick feels real. But the DMN isn't working alone. The illusion of being a separate self is so powerful because it doesn't just feel like a thought. It feels physical. You feel like you're in your body, looking out. This is another layer of the trick, managed by different brain regions working with your inner narrator. For a while, we thought specific areas like the temporoparietal junction, TPJ, were the main players in creating this sense of embodiment. But the plot has thickened. New 2026 research from the Karolinska Institutet reveals it's not just where this happens, but how fast. The key seems to be something called parietal alpha frequency, brain waves in your parietal cortex that act like a neurological metronome. These waves control how your brain integrates all the sensory signals from your body to create that feeling of ownership. This was demonstrated in experiments like the full-body ownership illusion, where your brain can be tricked into feeling a mannequin's body is your own. The recent findings add a fascinating layer. The precision of that feeling depends on the speed of your alpha waves. Faster alpha frequencies mean your brain has a higher temporal resolution, making it better at telling the difference between you and not you signals in real time. People with slower alpha waves have a wider binding window, meaning their brain is more likely to lump asynchronous signals together, slightly blurring the line between self and world. The story the DMN tells is made to feel physically real by this incredible, high-speed sensory integration. The switch, finding your freedom. So if the DMN is the storyteller, how do you get it to take a break? How do you operate the neurological switch to turn down the monologue? The answer isn't to fight your ego or try to destroy it. Your sense of self is a vital tool. The goal is balance, to gain the freedom to choose when to listen to the story. The switch is built right into your brain's wiring, the natural opposition between two major networks. We've met the default mode network, DMN, for internal self-focused thought. Its counterpart is the central executive network, CEN. The CEN is your brain's CEO. It lights up when you're deeply engaged in the outside world, focusing on a task, learning a new skill, or solving a problem. And here's the beautiful, simple truth. The DMN and the CEN have an inverse relationship. When one is active, the other is quiet. They're like two kids on a seesaw. You can't be intensely focused on the sensory experience of the present moment, engaging your CEN, while also being lost in anxious thoughts about yourself, engaging your DMN. This is the neurological switch. You don't turn off the DMN by wrestling with your thoughts. You turn it off by activating something else. If you're finding this look into the mechanics of your own mind valuable, and you want more content that connects ancient wisdom with modern neuroscience, take a second to subscribe. We explore topics like this every week, and your support makes it all possible. The how-to, using the switch. This neurological seesaw isn't just a fun fact. It's something you can learn to operate intentionally. You can consciously choose to engage your central executive network to give that inner narrator a much-needed rest. These aren't just relaxation techniques. They are practical neurological exercises. Try this right now. For the next 60 seconds, pour all of your attention into a single sensory experience. You could focus on the physical sensation of your breath. Feel the cool air entering your nostrils, the slight stretch in your chest and belly, and the warm air as you exhale. Don't think about it. Just feel it. Or do it with sound. Put on some instrumental music and just listen. Try to follow a single instrument. Notice the texture, the rhythm, the tiny spaces between the notes, without letting your mind weave a story about what you're hearing. In those moments of pure, focused attention, you've just engaged your CEN, and by doing so, you've momentarily hit the off switch on your DMN. The voice in your head, the one that worries, regrets, and obsesses over me, gets quiet. This is the freedom from the illusion. It isn't about adopting a new belief. It's about shifting your attention to the experience that's already here. A new perspective. This feeling of being a separate self isn't a flaw. It's a feature, an incredibly sophisticated piece of your brain's software that allowed our ancestors to plan, learn, and cooperate. But it's not the whole story of who you are. The narrative spun by the default mode network is a useful tool, but when it runs on autopilot, it can trap us in loops of anxiety and isolation. By understanding how this neurological trick works, you're no longer completely fooled by it. You realize that the voice in your head is just a stream of activity in one of many brain networks. It's not the unshakable core of your being. You aren't just the narrator. You're the entire book. You are the awareness in which the story of you appears. You now have the knowledge and the tool to operate the switch. You have the freedom to choose when to engage with the story of you, to plan, to dream, to remember, and when to let it go. Step out of the noisy theater of the mind and simply experience the richness of the world directly, right here, right now.